Rameshbabu Vaishali came joint first in the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament for women. I'll talk more about that result and the women's candidates at the end. But I'd like to leap straight into this game of Vaishali's. She's playing Guo from China. And I think this game illustrates so well how Vaishali has this desire to attack and manages to get the right positions. And a lot of the skill of attacking is finding the right opening variation. And this she did very well. So many Chinese players play the Petrov. That seems to be the national opening. Vaishali plays d4, and after knight e4, well, these variations are pretty well known. But Vaishali plays d takes e5, and that's less worked out. And knight d2, and she was playing these moves quickly. Now, queen d7, this was Fabiano Caruana's invention. So the idea is that if there's an exchange on e4, then, well, black is absolutely fine in that position. So it's just holding the knight on e4 just for an extra move. And the queen can be useful on d7, making room for the rooks, for example, to reach d8. But Vaishali just plays in a very straightforward way. Bishop d3, attacking the knight, which moves to c5, and she just retains that bishop, just nudging it back to e2. Knight e6, okay, looks like a decent move. So knight is a good blockader of the e-pawn. And I think from this moment we can very clearly see the strategies from the two players. So black has a very nice queenside majority. White has a kingside majority. That pawn on e5 is a good spearhead. And so very naturally, this is the side of the board that Vaishali would like to attack on. So she castled here. Bishop e7. Okay, so how is white going to generate an attack? Well, in a very straightforward way, and she played these moves quickly. Rook e1 and knight f1. Well, we see this maneuver in so many different openings, the Spanish. So the knight is going to come to g3, heading in the right direction over towards black's king. Very straightforward, I like it. So black plays c5 and starts to get the central majority rolling, which seems reasonable. And then bishop d3, pointing in the right direction. And c4, bishop f5 will come anyway, and then white will be able to occupy that d4 square. Knight c6 played. And bishop f5 anyway. We're going to see the point of playing this move in a second. But just to say that, look at that queen's bishop. There's no need to develop that one yet. I often see in games of my students, actually, that somehow they're very keen to bring this bishop out. Let's say, I don't know, bishop d2 in this position or something like that. But actually, so often you find that this queen's bishop only gets into the game much later, when the right square appears. So bishop f5. And rook d8 was played. And now we can see the point to playing bishop f5. Knight g5. So this exploits the pin here. The knight moves forward, and it clears that diagonal for the queen. That queen could land on g4 on h5, and already very, very dangerous. let's say h6, then an exchange on e6, bishop g6. Well, look at that fantastic piece. And queen g4, and already white has a huge attack. You know, that bishop could land on h6 in one move, and let's not forget knight g3 to h5. It looks tremendous for white already. So black exchanged on g5. Well, already, you know, white has achieved something, having won that dark squared bishop in a very important piece. And somehow black's kingside feels less secure after that. Knight e7. Well, that knight might like to swing round to the kingside, but still. And here Vaishali thought for, well, over 20 minutes. She can already sense that there are very strong attacking possibilities here. Now, she just nudged back with bishop g4. I mean, the bishop was attacked. But she must have been tempted by an exchange on e6 and then f4. So this just starts to get the kingside majority moving. And, you know, a very tempting, very straightforward way to play. But, okay, she opted for bishop g4. I suppose you could say that's, you know, positionally more desirable. You don't want to give up that light squared bishop unless there's a very good reason. But still, getting that f-pawn going was tempting. Queen e8. So stepping out of this pin. And this is threatened, so bishop h4. Just nudging back. And knight f4. I mean, basically, you know, this knight is ready to join the attack any moment. Knight f4. So exchange of pieces would be desirable. Knight g3. If this is exchanged, then the queen just comes out to this superb position. And, well, just have a look at this. Already, white's attack is irresistible. Queen is very unfortunately placed on e8 with a knight fork. So the knight came back to attack this one. And it's even possible to exchange here and get the knight in on f5, and then d6 looks very tempting. But Vaishali could not resist playing bishop f6, and can you blame her? You know, like I said before, she has this desire to attack. You know, that other variation probably better for white, but somehow it frees black's pieces a little bit. Whereas this one, she is going for the king straight away. If that's taken, then you can see, well, white is going to win the piece back straight away anyway, and then black's king is very exposed. So queen a4 played. So this one is threatened now. Exchange on c8. And queen c1. So a little nudge, but basically the queen is looking to end up on the king side on one of these squares. And this looks absolutely dreadful. Yeah, the queen is going to land on h6. And you can see that black's queen is just too far away, and white's going to recover this one anyway. Looks tremendous for white. Rook c6 played. And b3. A little nudge. Just putting the question to the queen, making sure it's not going to end up on the king side, because, well, queen g4, it will be nudged away again. And queen f4, well, that loses a piece after the exchange, and bishop takes e7. So that puts the queen back on a6. And there is more than one decent continuation for white. Okay, I think we should have a think and drink moment here, actually. How would you pursue the attack for white? Okay, you have a think, I'll have a drink, white play. Cheers. Do you want to improve your chess? Get exclusive access to live masterclasses with yours truly? Get hot opening ideas? Then subscribe to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess, and for just $25 a month you get a newsletter with a detailed test game to gauge your standard of play. A monthly video with puzzles to test your calculating skills. A monthly opening survey where I give my take on a hot variation. Access to an archive of over 100 opening surveys. Access to video playlists so you can research your favourite openings using the PowerPlayChess archives. And as a patron, you are able to join in the exclusive live masterclasses where you can ask me questions directly. All this for only $25 a month. That's exceptional value. So do subscribe to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess. Enjoy the benefits and improve your chess. Vaishali played in a very simple way here, and it was highly effective. She exchanged on e7 and played f4. So she's just getting that kingside majority going and wants to force through f6 and get to black's king. And as I said, it was very effective. She could also have played knight h5. I'm sure she was very tempted by this one. Threat to take here. And after pawn takes bishop, well, black has to take this. Now, obviously you don't take the rook because that would bring the queen across to defend. But queen h6 threatens mate. Only one defense, knight f5. And the queen just nudges back. And that rook is in trouble. Rook dd6 allows rook e8. Rook fd6. Queen takes knight. And, well, white has recovered the material and with these pieces has an excellent attack. I suppose there's a moot point, which is better. Anyway, Vaishali chose this. And, you know, traditionally in these kind of situations, black needs to counterattack through the middle. But, you know, these moves are just too slow. It's so fast. Likewise, d4 and f5. So Guo tried h5 as a kind of distraction. So if knight takes pawn, then knight f5 and d4, knight e3, well, fine. It could be a little bit confusing. But Vaishali simply ignored the h-pawn and kept pushing. And h4, knight h5. Problem is that after knight takes f5, queen g5 fails tactically. Both rook and knight are attacked. Simple double attack winning. So rook cc8, f6. I mean, this is just classic play. Just open up the king. Knight takes g7. It is an absolute crush. Queen h6. That's like a spite check. h3. I mean, this changes nothing. Knight f5. And queen g7 comes very soon. These checks amount to absolutely nothing. Wow. Route 1. That's what we call that in football. It was an absolute crush. But as I said, I think it demonstrates Vaishali's style really well. She loves attacking. And, you know, there were moments there where she played with great skill. For example, nudging black's queen way across the other side of the board. And yeah, played that final attack beautifully with f4. And I come back to this position out of the opening. You know, she understood how dangerous this position is once white gets going with that wonderful spearhead on e5. Right, women's candidates. Let's go and have a look at who's qualified. So Vaishali was equal first in the FIDE Grand Swiss for women with Katerina Lagno. So they're both through. Already there are two other Indian players. There's Divya Deshmukh and Humpy Koneru. There's Tan Zhongyi and Zhu Jiner from China. And there's Alexandra Goryachkina. So there are two Russians playing. And there's one more place to be decided. I think it's very exciting that you have Divya and Vaishali, you know, the younger generation coming through from India. Now, they're rated below the others. However, they're playing so much and they're, you know, so ambitious. It'd be so interesting to see how they get on. I do hope that they do well anyway. And I should mention that on the channel, there's another live masterclass coming up on Thursday the 25th of September. How to get that right. So that's just for patrons, Patreon only broadcast. Do join me there. And if you're interested in subscribing to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess, do check out the benefits, opening surveys, join in the live masterclass, calculation exercises. If you want to improve your chess, then do sign up. It's just $25 a month. It's a bargain. Thanks for watching.